I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids. Kids died today. This needs to be about them. This needs to be wrapping our arms around these families with every bit of love that we can possibly.
So let me just go ahead and stop this here. As you can see Tim Walz is in the background right above me. That's the Minneapolis mayor. Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota. And in the heat, in the midst of this whole situation, what they've decided to do is make sure that they put out a statement and have a press conference that speaks specifically towards people's hate towards this particular community and why. And I'll go into it and I'm going to deep dive into it a little bit more. But the reason that they're doing this is because the person that was identified as a shooter, for those of you that may not be familiar, there was a shooting at a Catholic church. And the Catholic church also had a school attached to it. It was young kids. I'm not sure exactly what the school goes up to, but I think it's elementary and middle school. And so the kids were basically having mass to celebrate the first week of school. And what happened was this shooter, who just so happened to be a trans person, born Robert, changed their name to Robin. I believe it's Robin Westman was the name that they were going by prior to taking themselves out after eliminating, and this is the key, eliminating children. At least 2 children, as of the reporting of this video, have succumbed to their injuries, and tons more, right? More than a dozen more were hurt, injured. And again, these were children, and they were being shot at through a church window. And more importantly, he also put a 2x4 on the doors to barricade them in from one of the entrances. So apparently they were familiar, or they had already scoped out what was going on at this location prior to going in and making sure that they eliminated all of these children. And when I first reported on this on the Millionaire Morning Show, I was absolutely disgusted. But now you have this woke mayor that's coming out to make sure that they're making a statement to protect this community. And in my opinion, this is not the time to be woke at all. But I know that they want to please their constituents. And this is how I know most of these liberal mayors and governors like the Tim Walz, honestly, and this is just my opinion in particular, they're demonic. 100%. They are demonic. They serve demonic purposes. This is not about peace. This is not about love. One of the things that I noticed, and I had to go and mine this information out myself prior to me actually reporting on it on the Millionaire Morning Show, because I always want to make sure that I'm reporting on the right things and the right information. Prior to this whole thing, guess what they forced us to do? They forced us to try to figure out who the person was, and they held back information on releasing the identity of the person that took themselves out prior to taking out the children, because they did not want us to parse through the information to make sure that you knew that it was a trans person that did this. Now, again, I think that the fastest way to get yourself removed out of office is to try to be politically correct instead of being real about what is going on. The fact of the matter is, you can't ignore it. You shouldn't ignore it. And more importantly, every other group of people, no matter what you identify with, no matter what it is that you was born as, every other group of people, they are willing to and make sure that they plaster your identity out there so they can know exactly who you are, and they go and research to find out why you did what you did, and if it was a cultural norm, if you was influenced by other things, or if you was just deranged and mentally insane. But for some reason, and again, this is all of y'all liberal voters and all of y'all stuff. For some reason, they feel compelled to protect the identity of the person that did one of the most egregious crimes. But I want to let you know everything as of the result, the closest that I can get to this, as far as just a reporting of exactly who this person was and everything that they know about this whole situation, which I think is one of the most tragic things that I've probably ever reported on since I've been a content creator.
Parents, students, and community members coming together in Minnesota tonight to comfort each other in the wake of unimaginable tragedy. 2 children fatally gunned down at Annunciation Catholic Church, 17 others injured. The shooter targeting the kids during morning mass just steps from their school. And they are holding each other close as they work to find a way forward here. This is the 10 o'clock news. I'm Sheba Russell.
I'm Jason Martinez. The grieving has certainly started, and so has the investigation into that shooter who carried out this deadly attack in Minneapolis and why. Tonight, we're getting our first look at the shooter. Police identifying him as 23-year-old Robin Westman. They say Westman shot 16 children and 3 adults before turning the gun on himself. Our Fox station in Minneapolis says Westman previously went by the name Robert before a name change applied for by his mother, who said in a filing that Westman identified as female. We're also learning that Westman's mother worked at the school before retiring.
Police say Westman.
So we supposed to ignore that. We supposed to ignore the derangement. That said nothing about a father. Mother applied for the name change. She also worked for the school. Man, listen, bro. If y'all don't start holding these women accountable and holding these people accountable, this is demonic. This is absolutely demonic, flat out.
And shot dozens of rounds from outside the church through windows. And they say the suspect had a manifesto posted on YouTube, which has since been removed. The FBI says it is now investigating the shooting as a hate crime and domestic terrorism. The motive, not yet known. Fox's Brooke Taylor has more.
The Minneapolis community coming together after Wednesday's tragic school shooting. Memorials and vigils taking place to honor the lives lost and help start the healing process.
There's no words that are going to ease the pain of the families.
A gunman opened fire while young students were attending morning mass at a Catholic school, fatally shooting an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old and wounding 17 others.
There were another 14 children between the ages of 6 and 15 that were injured by gunfire. There were also 3 adults in their 80s. The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church.
The shooter armed with a rifle.
And would you happen to know that there are people that were actually mad at the fact that the police chief said that this person, he took his life when he identified him as the biological male that he was born, he took his own life, and people were mad because they identified him as a he when their mother applied for the name change for it to go from Robert to Robin. And then this crazy person decided to go and eliminate a bunch of children.
Full shotgun and pistol fired dozens of rounds through the church windows as students sat in pews.
At this stage, we believe that the shooter had acted alone. There is no indication of other suspects directly involved in carrying out this attack.
Police are investigating a motive for the shooting, looking at social media, while the FBI is calling the attack an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime against Catholics. And police say that the rest of the victims are expected to survive, but some are going to need surgery.
Listen, bro, anything less than identifying it exactly for what it is, I think is a crime against people. It's a crime against the people in Minneapolis. And I think that the mayor in Minneapolis, also backed up by Governor Tim Walz, who was also supposed to allegedly try to run or try to be the vice president if Kamala Harris had ever got in, backed by Tim Walz, is crazy to me. But this is the time that we live in. This is the type of stuff that people vote for. And now the people that are under attack are the ones that actually is serving God, and it's the most vulnerable amongst us, children. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. Let me know what y'all think.